I love classical music, and I know how many people I just lost with that first sentence, but bear with me, I promise. If you're one of those people who I lost in the first sentence, I honestly don't blame you. Here's the thing. Even though I love classical music, there are a lot of things within classical music culture that I wrestle with on an almost daily basis. Chief among them being this. One could easily get the sense that everything written after the turn of the century was written with an almost arrogant tone. I often feel like a lot of music written around this time was written almost as like a challenge to the listeners. Like the composers were sitting in their studios and were thinking, how abrasive and unpleasant an experience can I make this for the audience? As an example of what I mean, here's a quote I think sums it up pretty well. It's from an avant-garde composer who will remain nameless, but they believe that music and art should under no circumstances be fun. And I quote, "In the concert hall they are in the royal bathtub, so I must put a bit of cold water into the bathtub, into the concert hall." Yeah, you must be really, really fun at parties. But eventually, you wound up with a culture where all of the musical gatekeepers were saying that the only music that was fresh, the only music that was relevant, the only music that was worth listening to honestly kind of sounds like an orchestra getting thrown down a set of stairs, and then everyone stands up at the end and claps and says, "Visionary." What this leads to is this mentality in classical music where the composers are on this higher plane of existence, and we as mortals can only hope to understand the true genius that lies within their brain. I think this mentality of elevating composers is really, really toxic for the composers, for the players, for the fans, for classical music as a whole, really. Don't get me wrong. There are a ton of pieces that use dissonance and use unpleasantness and use abrasiveness to incredible emotional effect. Maybe something like this, or maybe something like this. All of that being said, if your first experience with classical music sounds like this, and then everyone tells you, you just don't get it, then you're probably not going to have a lot of people itching to come back for more. So since I love classical music, I want to combat this mentality. Be the change you want to see, right? So I had the idea of creating a piece where the audience contributed as much to the music as the composer did. Those of you who have been to my recent shows have seen me do things like pull audience members up on stage to play radios with the band. And this felt like a step in the right direction, but it still felt unfair. I was still the one writing all the notes, and then the audience would come in and just provide a layer of white noise underneath the notes, and it didn't quite feel good enough. I was aiming for equality. I want the audience to have say over the notes. I want the audience to have say over the rhythms. I want the audience to have say over the tone, everything. So in December, I took to Instagram and I asked my followers, what should I write a song about? Then I put the 16 most viable answers into a bracket and had my followers vote on what they wanted to hear a song about. Once I had a topic, I asked my followers what tempo it should be at and what key it should be in. Once all the voting was done, I was left with this task. Write a song about the emotion of Sonder in the key of E flat minor at 106 beats per minute. So I spent the next few weeks working on that song. Wait, this doesn't feel more fair. Yeah, the audience gave you the starting point, they gave you the topic, the key, and the tempo, but you're still the one writing all the notes. Didn't you just say, I was aiming for equality. I want the audience to have say over the notes. You are correct, and that's why the project isn't finished yet. A few days ago, my friends and I recorded the first draft of the song that I had written, and that video is up right now. But we're not done. I want you, the audience, to comment suggesting changes that you think I should make to the song. Suggested changes can be as vague as make it happier, or as exact as on the third beat of bar 420, superimpose a tritone substitution of the 4-9-7. There is no right or wrong way to suggest a change, but I will say this. The more specific you can be with the change that you want, the less room for error I have in interpreting what your change means. That does seem fair. So, if all goes to plan, we will have around 1,000,000 suggestions? I can't possibly make all of them. So if you see a change suggestion that you like, you should give it one of these. And whichever changes get the most thumbs up, I will make to the piece. Sort of. Of the top 7 change suggestions, I'm going to make 5 of them. Hence the name, Keep the Change. Wait, choose 5 of the top 7? That doesn't seem fair. That seems weird and arbitrary and not even representative of what the people actually want. That's a fair point, but you could make all those arguments for the Electoral College system and we still... All jokes aside, here is why I'm actually doing it this way. Firstly, memes. If you look at any YouTube video, probably the first few comments are just jokes and memes, and while I'm not completely opposed to having this song become funny and become a little bit comical, I don't like the idea of just having it reduce itself down to a meme piece. But if you, the audience, really, really want a meme piece, you can force my hands. If you get all 7 of the top comments to be just jokes and memes, I'll just have to make it work and see what I can do. 2, people might suggest things that are impractical. Write a 12-tone row ranking your 9 favorite Taylor Swift songs. What? 2, just downright impossible. Get Beyonce to sing vocals. Patreon in the description, let's get a Beyonce budget. And so, by implementing only 5 of the top 7 changes, I can nix ideas that are going to be impossible or impractical, or just a little bit too much of a joke. Sorry. Once suggestions are in and 7 winners have been crowned, I will make the changes, I will rewrite, we will re-record, we will repost, and start the cycle over again. Hopefully we can get at least 3 or 4 runs through this cycle before the end of 2020, but wherever we are in December is where the song will end, and we'll see where we land in December. Cool. Hey, thanks for watching. Somewhere around me you'll be able to find a link to the video for Keep the Change. I'm super excited to see what changes people suggest, and I'm super excited to make those changes and re-record and start this process going. I'll see you again in a month or 2 with the next version of the song. To make sure that you don't miss the next installment of these videos, you can subscribe here on YouTube, you can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on Twitter, wherever you want. Or you can do none of those things. Never let a stranger on the internet tell you how to live your life. Bye! Change suggestions. That's really hard to say. Suggested changes